Thank you very much to the Minister of the Presidency of Bolivia, Nela Prada. Madam Minister, welcome to teleSUR. There is a very strong campaign by the opposition to the government, in the sense that there was not really an attempt at a coup d'etat, but rather a situation. Even according to the coup general himself, agreed with some government authorities. What is your response?
Good afternoon, Freddy. Greetings through telesur to all the peoples of our great homeland and to all the peoples of the world who follow telesur. Regarding your question, what I would first like to make absolutely clear is that in our country, here in the plurinational state of Bolivia, there was a failed military coup d'etat. There was a failed military coup. And we have been reporting on this from the very first moment when this movement of tanks and military troops began to take place around Plaza Morillo, where the Casa Grande del Pueblo is located, where we were with our constitutional president Luis Alberto Arce Catacora, with the vice president. We were about to have our usual Wednesday morning cabinet meeting, but we met in the afternoon because in the morning it was the anniversary of the Unified Syndical Confederation of Peasant Workers of Bolivia, which is the organization that brings together the largest social structure in our country, the farmer movement. Then all these tank and troop movements that took Plaza Murillo began to take place. They began to control and in fact to get rid of all the people who were in Plaza Murillo, in many cases using tear gas. The people begin to mobilize, which is the first thing I want to underscore above all things, the mobilization of the people which plays a decisive role at the time of this coup d'etat attempt by the former commander of the army, Juan José Zúñiga, and other military. In this sense, I would also like to inform the people of our great homeland regarding those who got injured precisely in this failed coup d'etat. Here I show you some images. As we can see, so far we have registered 14 injured by firearms, 14 injured that were in Plaza Murillo, passing by, resisting. They have been actually trying to enter to safeguard our president's life, our democracy. And in this regard, I regret very much that in light of what has happened, our country has been one of the countries that has suffered the most coups d'etats, around 40 coups d'etat in our history. And what we believe won't happen again, we realize that many forces actually operate so that processes of change, so that revolutions that precisely have the people as protagonists be hindered. And in this case, a scenario of that nature was precisely set up to seek to overthrow a democratically elected government headed by this coup attempt perpetrated by the former commander of the army. However, what he was doing and what the Bolivian people has witnessed was that he had already been trying to enter and take over the Casa Grande del Pueblo. Obviously, what he aimed was our President Luis Arce, and in this regard, we saw the images of the tank pushing the entrance gate to the Palacio Quemado, that is in front of the Plaza Murillo. Then, when he managed to open the gates of the Palacio Quemado, what happened there was that our president, I was with him at that time, told me, "Comrade, I will confront Zúñiga and I will do it to avoid bloodshed among the people, bearing the consequences that I have to face." And those were the images that were made public. The vice president joined the president. I also went along with the president. We went down with when Zúñiga was entering Palacio Quemado, and afterwards he came to take control of the Casa Grande del Pueblo, and our president faced him directly, and the president was holding on his hand the presidential baton, and the first thing Arce told him was, "As your Captain General of the Armed Forces, I order you that right away you demobilize the troops, demobilize the tanks that you have in Plaza Murillo, and comply with what is established in our political constitution of the state, and do not put the Bolivian people at risk." Then he began to argue a series of things about the armed forces, that there was a feeling of dissatisfaction and other situations, and what happened at that moment was that our president continued with great steadfastness, with great determination, facing Zúñiga, as we have seen in images, the role of the armed forces played at that moment, and what they were not complying with, the violation of the political constitution of the state, the risk to our democracy, the risk in which the Bolivian people were being put, and he continued instructing and ordering him. Zúñiga continued saying that he was not going to obey those orders. The last thing that our president said to him was, "Are you going to obey, or are you going to obey or not the orders?" So he finally said no. Then what our president did was to look at the commander of the Air Force. Zúñiga entered with the former commander of the Navy, the one who was commander of the Army at that time, now former commander, and he entered with the former commander of the Air Force. Then the president looked at him and said, "Are you gonna be part of this coup d'etat led by Zúñiga? You are still on time to be on the side of the people, to be on the side of democracy, to be on the side of the Constitution." Those videos were made public. I was also there. I started to tell many things to both Zúñiga and this general. I told them that history should not repeat itself, that they should not stain the military uniform with the blood of the people again, that they should respect the Constitution, and I was telling him, he's ordering the Captain General of the Armed Forces at this moment to demobilize the troops, demobilize the tanks they have, putting at risk the lives of the Bolivian people. Do not repeat the history of the coups d'etat. Do not repeat the history of that terrible past that has given a notorious reputation to the armed forces in our country. Then, the former commander of the Air Force began to realize, and the president said to him, "Are you gonna comply with the orders of your Captain General of the Armed Forces?" And he began to say yes. At that moment, Zúñiga realized that he started to lose control of one of the forces that was decisive for him, because the first thing he did was to seek control on the ground, and he was going to control the air level later. So this Air Force was undoubtedly decisive. When he saw that in reality General Segarra turned his back and no longer looked at Zúñiga but began to take this side, Zúñiga immediately turned around with the other commander at that time of the Navy, and they left the palace. They left the palace, but also at that moment they already saw more people mobilized and coming to Plaza Murillo in defense of our democracy, in defense of our country, of the Bolivian people, in defense of a democratically elected government, in defense of our president. Then many things went wrong because he also tried to approach the Bolivian police. He told the police commander to join him, to return to the police and to assume the leadership of our country. The police commander told him that he has sworn to comply with the political constitution of the state and that he was not going to support him. This has also been decisive, together with, I reiterate, the determination, the position taken by our president, that I clearly realized when he went to confront Zúñiga that was something that he never expected. He was advancing, already entering with troops after the tank knocked down the door to be able to enter. He never expected our president to come out in front of him and confront him the way he did. I realized that from the very beginning, standing next to our president, that this began to unsettle him. That from the moment he saw him coming with that determination, he did not know exactly what to do. I believe that this has been a crucial factor. The people, the awareness of the people regarding the defense of what has cost us blood, pain, mourning, the recovery of our democracy, and then something that is also fundamental, the fact that there have been statements from presidents, friends, social organizations of our region and the world, of the media committed to the peoples, to their struggles to the truth. What is beginning to circulate at the international level and an immediate condemnation of what was happening in our country. The solidarity of the peoples in situations like this undoubtedly makes a difference. Zúñiga, there are several things with which this coup attempt began to fail him, and of course, then our people ended up winning.
Minister, General Zúñiga, from what you point out, offered at least to the police commander to be part of another government, that is, to overthrow this government explicitly.
Exactly. Zúñiga offered him to join in what he was doing at that time. He offered him, he was still in a military tank, he offered him to get in, surely from there to give a message to the three commanders at that moment of the army, which is one of the forces that holds the greatest fire capacity of the Navy and the Air Force. He invites the police commander to join. He tells him to join. The police commander was there and he tells him to join. At that moment, according to the police commander and people who were there, Zúñiga told him that they had a great support to carry this out. Zúñiga was talking on the phone all the time with some people, which is part of the investigation. Zúñiga tells him that he had support to carry this out, not only from here, but he also mentions that he even had international support, which is what must also be part of the investigations.
Minister, is it a coincidence that 48 hours before the Foreign Ministry had publicly denounced and called the attention of the charged affair of the United States, Mrs. Deborah Evia, for interference of that embassy in Bolivian internal affairs?
I do not believe in coincidences, to be honest, nor do I believe in coincidences regarding what is happening to us. I have been pointing out to many national and international media outlets in interviews I have been giving that some time ago, the head of the U.S. Southern Command made some statements, also public and open, which can be found on the internet, regarding the state's interests in what is known as the lithium triangle in our southern region of our great homeland, and around that, precisely linked to the lithium triangle, where Bolivia plays a significant role in terms of lithium reserves. There is Chile, there is also Argentina, and concerning other elements and natural resources, such as, for example, rare earths, rare soils, water, I have always pointed out that beyond the internal problems that we may have at this moment within our political instrument, which is something I have been asked a lot about, I believe that we can never lose sight of the main enemy. We can never lose sight of what we are facing. And that usually behind the history of coups d'etat in our countries has been, of course, a level of interference in generating scenarios of convulsion, of confrontation, among the people, of seeking that processes where the people are deciding their own destiny may go wrong, may be lost, and governments that are servile to external interests take control, put our natural resources at their disposal, their service for a plundering of our natural resources, and of course ruining what we reaffirm and are part of our principles, part of our convictions, of our anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist, anti-colonial, anti-neoliberal, liberal, and anti-patriarchal convictions. This is precisely what makes our political positioning around the construction of another world that we believe possible. That, of course, has to do with a world free of all forms of oppression, exploitation, and subordination. I always reiterate this in terms of a word of an indigenous nation in our country, which is Liembae, and it means the construction of a land without owners, without bosses. That is what we want to build and advance in the construction of dignified peoples, of sovereign peoples, of the integration of brotherly peoples around other principles that have to do with solidarity, reciprocity, with an integration based on the complementarity between brotherly peoples and not on subordination based precisely just on the interests such as the plundering of our natural resources. We are absolutely clear, our President Luis has said it in several opportunities and speeches as well, internal, external, about the eyes that are on the plurinational state of Bolivia for all the natural resources it has, for its strategic position, but also around our process of change, our democratic and cultural revolution that certainly in 2019, after a coup d'etat, we have been a bad example for the right wing, not only nationally but internationally, that the organized people, when there is absolute awareness, conviction, commitment, unity of the people, can overcome this, can reverse this. And we have achieved it thanks to the people in less than a year. We have come back from a terrible government, from a de facto government that really left our economy in ruins. Assuming a government after a coup d'etat is not the same as assuming a government of a democratic continuity. It has taken a lot of effort. Not only we as a government say it, the main efforts comes from the working people, from the working class, from the native indigenous and peasant movement, from all the workers that who give their best to our countries and to our economy, and that around this there is an absolute awareness, and that is it's thanks to them that our democracy has been recovered. So that is what we have to take care of and preserve today. And now I will just close with this part, going back to your first question. What is absolutely terrible, and I think we cannot allow it. I was saying today that beyond the political differences that may exist with many opponents that I have seen coming out at this moment, with many people from the right wing, with many opinions that are trying to install around the self-coup, it seems quite inconceivable to me. That is what we cannot allow, because history cannot repeat itself. Here we have to stand together, not only at a national level, but also at an international level, so that these things can never be normalized. We cannot see them as being part of something organized. They were saying that it is just part of something that has been agreed, which I reject. Our president has pointed this out from the beginning regarding these situations, and it cannot be that we believe more in the word of a coup leader who was about to consolidate another coup d'etat that was going to have devastating consequences for our people, with the bloodshed of the lives of the people. The people is the one who always ends up offering their lives, and that is what our president cared for, because it is the humble people, the working people, who are normally in the streets defending the democracy that they have worked hard to recover. And it cannot be that instead of giving more credibility to those people who came out in defense of their democracy, in defense of our country, in defense of their government for which they voted, with which we won more than 55% in the elections of October 2020, more credibility is given to a coup leader the word of a coup-monger leader who goes out to try to save his reputation, to say that it was a self-coup and that our president instructed to do so. I am not going to allow that. I am committed to the task. Since yesterday I have been here in the Casa Grande del Pueblo and I have not left. I am not going to give up this battle, which of course has to be with ideas, with arguments, with truth, with information, not with bullets, not with weapons, to try to dismantle this narrative that is trying to be installed around the self-coup and that unfortunately many people are believing it. I was saying that in moments like this, I would really hope that we all show our political leadership, and beyond the political and ideological differences that we may have, we must stand together to take care of our intercultural democracy, of a democracy beyond the representative that we have in our plurinational state, a democracy beyond the representative that we have in our which has been quite difficult to recover and which we must preserve, focusing above all the expectation of the generations that are watching us, the youth, the children, our sons and our daughters, who are waiting for this moment and the historical heights we must be at, to never again allow the self-coup, to never again allow coups d'etat to happen in our country.
Finally, Minister, the government has been denouncing the opposition's interest in creating crisis conditions, causing economic crisis, real or fictitious, with a series of actions to shorten President Arce's mandate. Is the risk over? Has the danger for the government and for democracy ended after this attempted coup?
No, not at all. The risk has not passed at all. And that is why we are here, and here we are gonna stand strong. Here we were in 2019, and here we are gonna be obviously together with the people. The risk has been from the first moment in which we assumed we take office. The risk has been a campaign that we carried out in which they tried to make an attempt against the life of our president at that and all of us. They try to blow up our campaign house because that is how fascism operates in our countries. They have tried to put nails and other things on roads where our president was passing by as a candidate at that time, and for him to fall down and to make him fall into cliffs on his way to the Yungas. A plan has been unveiled with the whole plan with all the national and international level around the hiring of mercenaries, of hitmen to put an end to the life of our president. We have been facing a series of things, and the moment we won the elections, the campaign house where we were with our president, then candidate and vice president, was surrounded by military tanks, it was surrounded by troops. If we did not win with that resounding victory, possibly we would not be at this moment telling the story of what has happened in the past. The victory was resounding. The victory was for the people. The victory was of the popular movement. The victory was not only for Bolivia, but for the peoples of the world who believe in dignity, in sovereignty, the self-determination of the peoples, in non-interference and economic growth with social justice. So I think that is what we have to take care of. This risk was latent from the very beginning. It was there. We have been facing it time after time. You will recall that there have been several attempts to destabilize our country and to shorten the term of office of the president. To shorten the term of office, of course, wanting to put an end to a government which represents the people, and to put an end to a process of change that has been fundamental in transforming the lives of the population at the economic level, at the social level, at the structural level, in terms of history and a long memory of a struggle of the social organizations. So I believe that the risk is there, that we must be alert, that the people are alert. This has been pointed out by social organizations. I know that the immediate statements and actions taken by the Bolivian workers, centers, indigenous, peasant, rural, and urban social organizations, workers, in a resounding rejection and also assuming pursuing measures of mobilization, of resistance, of an indefinite hunger strike, and other measures that were going to take as social organizations against this failed coup d'etat. mobilization, the organization of the people, being constantly on the alert is fundamental to win all these attempts of fascism, coups that are being attempted, and that of course I highlight today, as I pointed out, is the organized people, is the international community, is the actions that are taken, for example, at the level of our president. It is also within the military that I highlight many within the armed forces who did not support this coup d'etat. And of course, it is important to highlight the military that complied with what our constitution says and respecting a democratically elected government. Also, the Bolivian police and those who were in the Casa Grande del Pueblo to provide security for our president. Both the police and the armed forces stood firm at all times. I must underscore this, and the entire cabinet was at the side of our president. We stood by our president's side until the last moment, assuming and confronting the consequences that could occur, because the people, that is the greatness of our people, and it is the example that they have given us in the most critical moments of our country's history.
Minister, thank you for your time with us for teleSUR.
Thank you very much. Freddy greets teleSUR, send a big greeting to our colleague Patricia, who I always remember with great affection. I would like to thank President Maduro for his immediate solidarity of ministers who have spoken to me, the messages I have received from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, a great revolutionary greeting to the Venezuelan people, to the brave Venezuelan people, greetings to all the governments of our country, of our countries, of our regions, of our homeland, of our Americas, committing to the people who have sent us this immediate solidarity, who have made themselves available to see what can be done jointly for our people. And that is the solidarity that at this time, as I was saying, is really decisive. A big greeting to all the teleSUR team, which undoubtedly fulfills a determining role in favor of information at the service of the people and for the truth as for the communication is concerned. Thank you very much, and here we stand steadfast ever onward to victory.
Thank you very much. This was an interview with the Minister of the Presidency of Bolivia, Minister Nela Prada. Back to you.